sustainability perspective?
Yeah, sure. Thanks again for having me, and I know Matt's not in the room, but I saw him earlier, and thanks to him. I think one of the things that makes our property unique is the fact that we have an ownership group who believes in green and who believes in sustainability. There is a massive upfront cost to go green at a hotel. And if you think about my hotel, we're 169 rooms and 7,000 square feet of meeting space. So comparatively speaking to the Ritz, which is like one of my favorite, I was telling you, I go there every Sunday, I'm at the Ritz on the beach, or to the Hyatt, it's obviously a much smaller footprint. But the upfront cost, I think, is something that most hotels and most ownership groups don't buy into, right? So the first thing that makes us unique is the fact that we have an ownership group that believes in these kinds of things. But in addition to that, we have in the past year switched out every single one of our lights to LED lights. That includes our parking lot, our meeting space, all of our public areas. The fact that we have we've installed low flow switches in all of our bathrooms. Our housekeeping team makes sure that the blinds are pulled and the thermostats are set appropriately, regardless of if that room is going to be occupied that night or not. Our security team at night goes around to all of our banquet rooms, turns off all the lights, adjusts the thermostats. So those are just a few of the ways that I think makes us unique, because again, for an inland corporate hotel, which is what we are, you don't see that very often. I can tell you for a fact that none of our competitors or people on our corner are doing those kinds of things. So for us, I think that's kind of what separates us and what makes us a little special.
I guess maybe a follow-up question would be, do your customers care? And who are your customers?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I just had this conversation with our green team actually the other day in preparation for the panel today. And our customers absolutely care, because I think when people are traveling now, they are expecting the same environmentally friendly initiatives when they travel that they have at their house. So, whether it's the towel program, that, hey, leave this on your bed and you can reuse your towel, or we won't change your sheets every day. Those are the types of things that we're seeing more and more of from our guests. So I absolutely think that people are more cognizant of green initiatives, and it's definitely something that they're looking for when they travel.
I'm just curious, do you ever see green comments on TripAdvisor about your property, or?
Every now and again you'll get a comment about one of our green initiatives. It doesn't happen maybe all the time, because I think the one thing that's really interesting about green initiatives is that people don't always know they're there, right? So like not everyone really understands that, oh wow, there are parking lot lights or LED, or the lights in the, oh, there's a low flow switch on my toilet. This is fantastic. It's exactly what I was looking for. So I don't really know if they always understand that, but there are those people that can appreciate some of the things that are out there, and those are the comments that they get.
Thanks, Joe. Jeanette, I'm relatively new, as I said earlier, to Florida, so I was wondering if you could just kind of give our folks and myself kind of an overview of your association. Who are its members? How many members are there? And maybe specifically in this area of the state, give me a little bit of information.
Thank you. Well, the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association is the largest trade association in the state of Florida. We have over 10,000 members. We're the partner state of the American Hotel and Lodging and the National Restaurant Association, so we do cover both gamuts and both do think green, so that's important. Our membership base is those who are obviously very large in the advocacy area, in our educational area, overseeing pro-starts and hospitality management for lodging. In our high school programs, we have over 240 schools in the state of Florida, which is our future workforce, so it's very important these initiatives are done through them as well. They understand the importance of the things like Joe was talking about, that they do understand lighting and so on. And our mission is that of promoting and educating and protecting the industry on all levels, and obviously driving pets to vets as well.
Does the association have kind of a formal name for its sustainability initiatives, or does it kind of cut across all different parts of what you do?
they cut across all different parts because, as you well know, we've worked for many years with the Green Lodging Program, so we've supported that. We work with the leads, we work with, and this is a terrible name that they're trying to change, but green restaurants, and that just doesn't go well environmentally. Environmentally, it sounds good, but to the general public, it is not. So we work with all initiatives in just about every area. We also have many allied members who help provide services and products and things for those that do the green initiatives.
Thank you. William, I was quite impressed by your background as an energy engineer, and I was just curious if you could first tell me a little bit about your personal background in engineering and how you became an expert as an energy engineer, and then tell me a little bit about your property as well. Just kind of give our folks kind of a general overview of the size of your property, what your property entails in regard to food and beverage, etc. Can you speak closer to the microphone?
I was the director of the company over there. So over there, my passion has been all the time saving energy. One of my goals that I got for saving energy is to be day by day. You can't stop. Little by little, little by little. It's the thing that I like to do for the year. I come in 12 years ago, started working here in the discussion, like energy engineer. So our model for the corporate vision, we got the vision to say 20 by 20, 20% by the year 20. So we in the way to say now we are about 13%. We are close. So and our corporate office only has the support. We have to decide for buy local products.
The 2020 goal, is that a Marriott initiative?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And thinking about all the different energy conservation initiatives going on at your property, if you could name say the top three that have had the most impact on reducing your energy consumption and helping to save dollars, can you think of what those might be?
Yes, we started about 3 years ago replacing all the lights for LED. This is project that we an easy project because the return on investment is about 1 year. I don't know how exactly number, but we spent about $200,000 and the money coming in 1 year we saved this money. And the other thing is all our engineers have to work every day to all the rooms in the lights. Now we have to work more because this light lasts about 5 years. It's a operation improvement. It's one of the problems. The other thing that we do is the air conditioning system. Everybody knows that in the hotel, the energy consumption electrical is going to be about 35% for the AC. That is composed of the chiller, cooling tower, and the unit. So we start to do test and balance comparison as company. We go to the details, get the chiller operation to see how this one is working, how the chiller is working, how the controls are working. We do the mathematics and see the evaluation. We found that, for example, we start to using a PID, that's a variable question of the for the order. We're saving in 1 hour that is 50 horsepower to reduce the operation for about 20 to 25 hours. That is a lot of reduction. A model that works 24 hours, 360 days, you can do the math. It's one of the things that we did. The other thing that we did is
one of the things that kind of strikes me sometimes when I think about, TripAdvisor comments there, and a lot of these things that are going on behind the scenes, I mean, guests just have no idea, are having such a dramatic impact on their experience and also on the environment. And I know engineers have a lot to do with that.
And the other thing that is important because when you use PID, when you reduce the speed of the motor, for example, I can use to 60 hertz to 50 hertz, that is going to be about 12% reduction in speed. But the reduction in the power is the cubic, so it's going to be about 60%. These are other savings.
I know in doing some chatting with you guys prior to this event, you mentioned the Florida Green Lodging Program. I was wondering if you could each go down the line and talk a little bit about your association with the program, maybe how many palms your property has and what you had to do to achieve that.
Yeah, sure. So we just got designated as a 2-palm. We were 1 palm last year, now we're a 2 palm. So the big thing is you have to be 1 palm for like a year, and then you're able to apply for a 2 palm. So what that essentially means though is that we took a self-assessment and sent it into them, and then after they receive it, they send out a certified. I want to make sure I get this name right. It's a certified green lodging trained assessor. So they come out and they say, okay, here's what we found here's what you guys submitted, and now here's what we find. And then apparently there was supposed to be a big party, which we didn't have. So my executive assistant who leads the program was like, we need to have a party. Like, how come we didn't have a party for our 2-palm? So anyways, we're really excited. We're the only 2-palm hotel within about 10 square miles of us that we know of. So for us, it's a really big deal. And again, it's another way for us to kind of distinguish ourselves from the rest of the pack.
Well, and again, as I alluded to, green lodging is something that I think probably maybe 10, 12 years ago that began a very strong initiative that we worked with, and I think something that Joe alluded to, it's not inexpensive to get part of it. You have to really be diligent to realize that the savings are down the line. It's like anything, sometimes you do the cost up front. But the biggest thing I think we have found with the properties that we work with through the state, have seen get their palms through the years, is something you also alluded to, is the team buy-in. To have a team leader and to recognize the initiatives as you go along. The most important thing that I think is that everybody that's on staff at that property has the same buy-in as the team leader or the general manager or whoever's done the initiative. Yes, the cost savings, I think one of the biggest things that we've probably seen and hear the most about is that on the laundry side of the savings of things, not only certainly the water management companies, we also work with Southwest Water Management that has done the initiative of not using your towel the same day and those things. But again, I think it takes a lot of buy-in. You do need the palm celebration because it keeps everybody excited about it. And then we also see additional things with that of our coastal properties that then take pride in beach cleanup days and other types of initiatives that are kind of an extension of that. They're not necessarily getting a palm for it, but they're on a roll with the enthusiasm for the environment and the savings of things they do because they suddenly have been brought new awareness. And just a question that you had asked Joe a little bit ago, that initially when green lodging and Florida Restaurant and Lodging is not, so I'm not selling green lodging, we just are very familiar with it, is that we found initially that the European visitor was much more excited about that designation, sadly, than we were in our U.S. travelers. They looked for properties that had that initiative, and now the tide's changing, so to speak. We very proud to say that we Americans are now looking for those green initiatives as we're staying in as well.
And William, is your property also a palm designated property?
Yes, we got 2 palm designation.
Florida since I started Green Lodging News like 10 years ago is that I know the Florida program has kind of gone through some tough times, and I remember it being much larger in participation, and hopefully it's on the upswing again. But when we talk about sustainability, we also talk about things beyond recycling, saving energy, and also get into what kind of impact are we having on youth or maybe on the community. And Joe, I know you've been involved in a number of different initiatives, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your own personal involvement, maybe your staff's as well in regard to community, youth, etc.
Sure. So I very proudly and humbly serve as the chair for the Bonita Springs Area Chamber of Young Professionals. We're a group of, we have 1,500 on our mailing list. So last year, we put on, matter of fact, right here at the Hyatt, the first ever Young Professional Summit. We had over 220 YPs from across Southwest Florida that attended. And matter of fact, that's how I met Matt. Matt was one of our panelists. One of our panel discussions was, like just plain and simply, was just on community involvement and community engagement and why that's important. And so that discussion really kind of morphed into not just the nonprofit sector, but also about why is it important to be green and why is it important for sustainability and all the things that Southwest Florida has to offer. So the YPs that I come across and I deal with on a regular basis, you know, it's really interesting because I think there's such a bad stigma with like millennials or like these, you know, like these horrible people, and Gen Xers are like, well, we're really not sure about them. And it's like, well, actually, we're not bad people. We're really fun, and like we're really cool, and you should hang out with us. But
Don't judge them.
Yeah, that's right. You can judge all you want, right? But I think what's really cool is that the YP demographic really truly believes that we want to be part of the solution, and we want to be part of something that's bigger than us. And that's the one thing that I find. And when it comes to sustainability and green and environment and just all those different aspects rolled into one, it's really encouraging to see people that are like, how do I leave Southwest Florida better than how I found it? And I think ultimately that's what we're here for. So from a YP perspective, it's a huge thing. Green initiative and sustainability. This is something that is a growing movement among those, especially like the 25 to 35-year-old demographic. That's what we see. In terms of other youth and our other organizations, I mean, my whole team is involved in various organizations. My whole sales team that I oversee and catering team. So there's a lot that we do and there's a lot that we see out there, but it is something that's very, very important because I think as you talk about, as we've alluded to, the upfront investment of what it takes to have a hotel go green and for those initiatives, that some of it is, yes, it's good because there's a cost savings down the road. And yes, it's good because you get to talk about your two-palm hotel or here's the things that you can do. But at the end of the day, and this is why I started off with talking about my ownership group, because at the end of the day, we truly believe in how can we give back to the community. And if that is we reduce our energy costs and we're making things a little bit better in our little corner of the world, then so be it, and that's awesome. And I think if nothing else, it's good to give back and to say, here's what we're all about. So anyway, a couple different, I guess, answers to your question, but hopefully that answers it.
Could you maybe cite a specific program that your association is involved with that's maybe assisting youth through education or in other ways?
Well, there's a variety of ways. The other side on most of our lodging partners anymore, besides the things that we've already covered, have restaurants. So the food sustainability is something that I think we're very proud in our Pro-Start programs, which are the culinary programs in the high schools, and our lodging management of talking about that. Food waste is very important on many levels. Food waste can certainly help us feed the homeless as we talk about things in the community. It's a strong way of giving back. We're doing some initiatives in Orlando actually with the mayor on different food compost of doing things so that there's not just food being thrown in the garbage. So the education portion now kind of, again, is, excuse me, as Joe has alluded to, it is right thing to do. So those messages are carried very strongly in the teachings, in our programs, so that our young people that come out are aware of these kinds of things, and they're coming up with solutions too. There's great ideas that are coming from our next generations down on things, and I think that you hit it, much more community back and things. So food sustainability is one of the big focuses that we're working on in multi-areas, and it's been a national progression, and I think you see that with whether it's a small hotel or it's a chain they're working on as our restaurants.
Yeah, the last session on agritourism, it was interesting, the recent series of articles, I think it was the Tampa Bay Times did on local food and the myth behind local food, whether it's really local or not. And of course, the Ritz-Carlton is bringing food home by growing it on site. And maybe, William, you can address, there was mention of waste, food waste. How does your hotel handle that situation?
So we got a real team that we got a meeting every month. So in this team, we incorporate all the members of the department. So we try to promote all the best practice. So one of the things that we try to do, we got some maybe Karen can help me with the footprint activities that we got. Karen, could you talk a little bit about the community footprint that we got, something with the food, with the...
Maybe food donation or...
Community footprints is our way to give back to the community. So it's a big focus for the Ritz-Carlton, and we look at the areas and the focus needs to be on education, environment, and for poverty, community poverty. So many of the focuses in those areas, and so throughout the year, local properties do a number of different things, depending on what the focus is going to be, and we have events to be able to give back to the community. So those are just, that answer.
Yeah,
I know Florida's the home of Clean the World, the soap reprocessing organization. I was just curious to know if either your two properties or the next, properties are involved with the organization.
We're not involved with that organization, but when I used to work in the corporate office for Intercontinental Hotels Group, and some of our extended stay all-suite hotels were involved in that program. And not just in Florida, but all over the country, where they would repurpose soap and everything. So it's, I think it's probably a wider practice in the extended stay hotels. I don't know why, I can't really put my finger on why, but it is out there, and those types of programs are out there. The one thing we do though is we do a lot of, at my hotel, we do a lot of donations to the community. So whether it's people looking for soap or different toiletry items, so those are things that we do all the time.
Okay. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to jump in as we're talking here. William, in the area of water conservation, what do you see as being most effective at your property? I know you've got golf courses to be concerned about from the irrigation perspective, maybe in-house as well. Can you cite any specific successful programs that you've been involved with?
Yes, the first thing we got renovation last year, so we replaced 260 95 rooms, we replaced the toilet. The old toilet that we got 1.6 gallon for flows, we checked to 1.28 gallon for flows, so it's a lot of reduction. Also, we replaced the shower head from 2.5 to 1 gallon per minute. Also, we play the aerators in the faucet, the aerator in the sink, to 2 gallons to 1.5 gallons per minute. So, could be married 295 rooms. In the sink, we got 2 sinks in the room. Some of the room got 4, working 24 hours, 365. The
Danette, does your organization have an annual event, trade show, convention? And I was curious to know to what degree sustainability kind of filters into that.
Yes, we do. It's each year in Orlando in the end of September. And we have many of our partners that have different initiatives, solution, whether it's lighting or things for, as we were just talking about, for water, laundry, things like that, that they have solutions or things that will help a property be green or sustainable. And so, yes, and it's that area has definitely grown through the years in the trade show, and for folks to come in and see, because the show is open to members and non-members. So we see a very large growth in interest in those particular areas.
Does your association have an awards program where sustainability achievements are recognized?
Not at this time. It's something that we looked at and did several years ago, and it's something that's being revisited. We have just begun some award programs again, and so it is definitely something that, no pun intended, but it's on the table.
Okay. I know I followed the American Hotel and Lodging Association's Good Earth Keeping program, awards program over the years, and they actually eliminated the category this year, and I was quite disappointed about that.
Yes, and that's kind of, I think, been across the board a little bit. I think that you're going to see probably in the next year more initiatives through AH and LA, which will also, trickle down to that. But I don't think there has been the measurement opportunities there that we need to have in place to be able to give the award.
Right. Yeah, it takes a lot of work to run an awards program.
Yeah.
Joe, you mentioned your property has a green team.
Yeah, we do.
And I know your property also has one. I'm curious to know, what are the mechanics of the green team environment? Like, who leads the green team at your property, and how often does it meet? And maybe give me a kind of typical scenario of a meeting.
Sure. So our green team actually has representation from at least one person from every single department in the hotel. It's being led by our executive assistant, Chrissy, and they meet once a month. And so a typical meeting is, so at the end of the month, when we get our statement from FP&L, we go to this website, we enter in all of our information, and it kind of spits us out data of where are we with our energy consumption. Is there an area of opportunity that we had for the month that maybe we fell short by, or did we see an increase year over year or month over month? And then, so we kind of break it down, because then we look at occupancy and a few other kind of factors like that. So the big initiative, when we first started this like a year and a half ago, was really like, okay, where are our areas of opportunity without really knowing, you don't know what you don't know. So the team really got together and they really brainstormed some really strong ideas, and that's where the brainchild of like, okay, let's switch out all of our lights and certain things like that kind of came from. So what's really nice though is that you have representation from every single department, and it's not just department heads. It's quote unquote like the line level staff, like they're involved, and I think that's really important, because when they're involved, then you talk about the buy-in process, and I think we talked about the buy-in process earlier. And so this team has really done an incredible job, because you may not be able to see the savings maybe month over month, but when you look at a snapshot in time of a year's worth of data, it's really incredible how we've been able to reduce our footprint and what we've been able to do for the hotel. So it's really been impressive.
And William, who leads the green team at your property?
Yes, it's almost with the same thing. We meet every month, and the green team is the lead for the engineering director, has members from the department. It's the same thing. We got some of the site managers, some of the site people for the days.
one of the things that did come out of not just our Green Engage team, but also a recommendation from a client. And this is probably, I've been at the hotel 2.5 years, so it was right after I started, not that long after I started. And it was a big national client that we had there for like a 3-day conference. And they said, you know, there's no recycling bins inside the meeting room. And we're like, wow, like it's just like one of those things that like seems so obvious, but yet we didn't have, because what would happen is our banquet team would come in and kind of clean everything, but they would take it out in the back and then they would kind of separate things, right? So they would take the plastic bottles or whatever it might be and kind of disperse those and throw those away themselves. So one of the little things that we did was we just added recycling bins inside our meeting rooms. It's unbelievable how a little thing like that can make such a huge difference. That has really been the biggest impact, I think, outside of all of our lights getting changed. And again, like I mentioned earlier, our security team goes around every night to all of our, we have 9 different meeting rooms, and they're adjusting the lights and making sure that the thermostats are there. So just some of those little things, I think, is how it's creeped in to the meeting space. There probably is more for us to do. What that is, I'm not 100% sure. But I think at a larger resort, whether it's a Ritz or a Hyatt or what have you, I think there's probably more opportunity for green to really creep in.
I suspect the Ritz probably sees requests for proposal that address sustainability quite often.
Same thing. Our meeting planners are looking for recycle bins. Clients are looking for recycle bins in the meeting spaces. So added recycle bins at the meetings. One of the other things we do too with the React team is we try to educate the people setting the rooms that when they go to set a room, they don't need to turn every light on in the room to set the room. The room doesn't have to be 68 degrees when you set the room. So we try to, at our React team, we also bring in department leaders and bring in employees and say, you know, look, when you're out of the room for more than an hour, just walk over to the switch and turn the lights on. It only takes a minute to turn it back on, a second just to turn it back on. So that is probably the most important thing is getting the buy-in from the line employees to think about what they're doing at work, similar to what they do at home. That you walk out of your room at home or walk out of your house and leave all the lights on. So we try to cross into the home aspect of energy saving also, and try to get that program into it.
Glenn, if I could just add something to that. One of the things that happened about 4 years ago, and I'll use, I know we have some in the room from Hertz, so Lindsay's a friend of mine. I work with Lindsay all the time at Hertz, and we love you guys. But one of the things that I'll give as the example is, like 4 or 5 years ago, all of a sudden, anytime a national account, like when you go to enter into a national account into their travel program, they out of nowhere, like the Global Business Travel Administration added 18 questions that were strictly about your green initiatives that you have at the hotel. So it was almost like these big national accounts, and again, I'm just kind of picking on Hertz, they're one of, a couple hundred, but it's almost as if you did not have certain practices in place, then you probably were not going to get into their travel program. So these big national accounts kind of forced hotels' hands to be like, okay, you need to start thinking differently. Because if nothing else for us, we want to make sure that we are utilizing hotels that have green initiatives and that are becoming more sustainable, and that that's good for us. It's good. Our clients want to see that. So that trickle down, that ripple effect, the domino effect, whatever you want to call it, is very much alive and well. So you have to have certain things in place for some of these accounts, or else you're simply not going to be part of their program. So it's really interesting how that's evolved.
Anything more on green meetings?
Well, I think you saw it initially with the green lodging that they tried to do it as a mandate that you could only have government meetings, any kind of our government agencies at properties that were under green initiatives. And, I think that definitely we've seen and hear a lot that has trickled down to, to corporate. So whether that initiative itself has succeeded, it at least brought awareness to things like Joe has mentioned.
So that mandate is still in effect for the state of Florida?
I honestly don't know, because as you alluded to a little bit earlier, it's a different association than it was, so I don't know. I do know that initially they promoted online those programs, those properties that were in the program and so on, so you could probably answer this one.
I'm kind of looking at this room and who's here. I'm curious to know whether you ever interact with your competitors and talk about these types of issues, or is this kind of like a once-a-year type of thing for you to do that? Yeah, any of you are
Yeah, we talk to our competitors because we want to find out who's staying with them so we can steal their business. But we probably don't talk necessarily about green initiatives. But you know, the one thing that is interesting is, at least in the hotel industry, I think that when you do get together with other salespeople, and I think one of the things we always talk about is like what's kind of up and coming. What are you seeing? What are trends? Whether it's in your hotel, in your marketplace, whatever the case might be. So there's a lot of that information that is being shared. I think with that information, you are having a discussion on green initiatives and sustainability as a whole, but it's probably more market trend specific.
Okay, well, we have a question back here, a couple questions.
I guess just one final comment. I would say that with the growth of green initiatives and it coming to be a part of everyone's life, it would be a marketing opportunity for you to be, we've been doing farm tours for 25 years and now everyone's got a farm tour. So it's actually bringing everyone up at the same time. And so I would like to talk to you guys about, partnerships, how we can bring that to effect too.
So if I could just jump in, sorry, going a little fast, just on that because a month ago we had the Florida Regional Small Farms Conference at our hotel, and what was really cool about it was it was like all farming table stuff, right? So it was stuff that maybe we don't do all the time. Like we have an incredible chef, he's a 4-star, comes from a resort and everything. But now we're having those ideas of like, okay, we should have the produce trucks come to the hotel. We should be picking stuff up like right off of the truck and what looks fresh and everything. So it kind of opened up our eyes to maybe there's a different way of not just from a quality perspective, but also from a green and sustainability perspective that we should be looking at. So.
Yes.
My company is the American Sustainability Leadership Council, and we're actually located in Pennsylvania and now just opening the second branch in Naples, Florida. My point is that one of our clients is Hotel Hershey and Hershey Resorts in Pennsylvania. And what we have through the corporations that belong to that are our clients is that green really is profitability. So for instance, with Hotel Hershey and with Hershey Hotel and Resorts, we've actually we helped them create a biomass generator that takes all their used cardboard, rather than paying to have it taken off their property. It's brought into this small biomass unit that is brought into their facility, and it generates about 20% of their electricity. So the one thing that I really promote through travel and hospitality is that there's so many things that you have right within your own perimeter of your resort that you're paying to get off your resort. If you were more aware of some of the things that are available, that the FPL and a lot of the companies that are out there are willing. I mean, they'll actually put the money into the capital equipment to put on your facility to turn it whatever your waste might be. It might be your it might be biomass, it might be cardboard, it might be food or whatever, and then actually you end up with a small microgrid within your system, and so it reduces your electricity, but it also, it's the whole package. And again, I don't know who brought it up, but the other corporations that are a part of this, it's true. They will only conduct business with other businesses that have sustainable best practices in place. That being because there's a Dow Jones Sustainable Index 100,
our time limit for this session, so I want